they're filming The Mandalorian and someone's left a Pepsi on the background or something. It's like, look, that instantly the spell's broken. That can't be explained. I mean, I've just made that up.
Wait. Are black people like Pepsi cans? Is that what he's saying? Every movie I see, it just ruins the fantasy. I know I'm not in space anymore because I see a Pepsi can, a Taco Bell wrapper, and a black person right over there. The spell is broken, don't you see? I no longer can suspend my disbelief. A black person. They're not real. I think it's time for Big Money Salvia. Apparently, and I'm not sure if this is true, I'm not sure if someone's trying to butter me up, and if you are trying to butter me up, shame on you. And also, thank you, I appreciate the butter. Apparently, Big Money Salvia mentions me in this new video. If so, I'm excited. I've been a fan for a while. Big Money Salvia has also been streaming lately, and he said he watches the Serfs, which is pretty cool. Definitely inflated my ego a bit. You know that sound you hear on the internet. Wow, that's from SpongeBob, right? Yeah, that kind of went off in real time in the real world, so that was cool. But you know what else is also awesome besides my self-flagellation is Big Money Salvia. All right, no, self-fellatio. Sorry, no flagellating. Big Money Salvia is going after the ghouls. There's a new ghoul arc. Like, what was the last one? He went after the Quartering, went after actual Justice Warrior, which was fucking hilarious. And now apparently he's going after Sargon of Akkad. Yes, Sargon of Akkad is happening right now. I'm excited. You should be too. Oh, what an arc.
Hey guys, so recently I made a video where I was poking fun at the new woke Lord of the Rings. I thought the idea of a woke Lord of the Rings was funny to me.
Yeah.
So I wrote a script about it really drunk, and then I filmed all of it really high, and then I put it all together. And
I like the process.
You kind of got to expect that when you jump into the middle of something like this, that there's going to be extreme backlash. And yeah, I guess I was kind of asking for that because I wanted to get into the middle of it.
Stygian says, this is a great example of how to respond in comparison to Moppin's team earlier. Okay, so if you would like some lore there, we were watching Caleb Moppin and Peter Coffin's takedown of Sophie from Mars, and it was clown shoes. It was clown shoes because what they were doing in that video was they were in both directions creating straw men and then going after the straw men and then using strange scenarios that they invented that she did not say or was not saying, or went after critiques of themselves that she did not even make. So it's they were doing the work on both sides, but they weren't actually addressing the critiques that were inside the video itself. So if this is the opposite of that, I'm here for it.
And get in the middle of it, I did. Here's popular
yes, straw person. I should use straw person more often. You're right.
British internet personality Sargon of Akkad, who was not pleased with my video at all.
Hey, how's it going? It's been a while since I've done a late night stream. Honestly, it's because I go to bed at like 11:30 these days. So I'm kind of tired, but I saw a video that kind of bugged me, and I thought I'd just do this out of the blue.
I could tell he's upset, so I'm going to be respectful and sit down and listen and learn.
I was watching Arch's...
You know what's so exciting about this? That he's using his power. He's going to be using his internet comment etiquette powers, but against Sargon of Akkad. This is a great moment for all of us.
Stream, which is probably still going on right now, so sorry, Arch. A friend of mine, obviously, and I saw he was talking about a video by this tomato called... Sorry, I shouldn't insult him. I don't know this guy.
Nah, it's cool, bro. You can call me a tomato. I don't even know what that means.
Internet comment etiquette with Eric. And... he had done a video complaining about people.
I just love that now Sargon's got a screenshot of him with the conspiracy theory sweatshirt, the piles and piles of McDonald's food, the fucking McDonald's cup filled with booze. There's always booze.
Complaining about Lord of the Rings obviously being woke. And so I haven't really watched this guy's channel before. I've heard of it, but I've never watched any of the videos really. And so I watched this video, and it seems to be literally him complaining a very surface level complaint about someone, and then complaining about their comment section. It's like, right. And in this video, he has the audacity to complain that the quartering, Jeremy, another friend of mine, by the way, goes through news articles and comments on events that are happening. And he's like, oh yeah, that just seems lazy. It's like, oh yeah. Yeah, what he's doing seems really lazy. Like, dude, don't forget to get your advert in. Like, come on. Okay. Everyone else is lazy, buddy. It's them.
Damn, he smoked me there. We all know how lazy my adverts are.
But okay, so
yeah,
the entire premise of this video was him essentially.
By the way, excuse me, to the person who all he ever does is just talk in front of the camera for like 2 hours about the same shit every single time. Like, I can tell you what his review of blank movie will be. Most likely it'll be based on how woke it is because of the following woke criteria. So we have to talk about the wokening of this woke thing right now. So hey, by the way, this is really bad because, oh, it features too many women and features people of color and features non-cis people. And because of that, it's destroying the fabric of society. And I need all the eggs from the women.
Sarcastically portraying a MAGA chud, an anti-woke MAGA chud. I don't have my MAGA cap. It's on the floor. Fuck. I should have got it for the bit. But anyway, he's portraying this anti-woke MAGA chud. And the idea that anyone could have any complaints about woke remakes other than they just hate black people is just off the table. And there's nothing more to talk about. Like, literally, no one has a legitimate complaint other than the fact that they don't like black people, which is, of course, not a legitimate complaint, but they're just bigots, is what he's saying. They love white people, they hate black people, and they're obsessed with race. The people commenting on the woke Lord of the Rings, they're obsessed with race. They can't stop thinking about race. I mean, it's the only critique that Eric has brought up of these people's views, but it's them who have the problem with race.
No, he's right. I did say in that voice that if you don't like the new Lord of the Rings, then you're racist. I drew a line in the sand, and I said that if you're against this new Lord of the Rings movie show or whatever it is that I don't give a shit about, then you must hate black people. And that's on me. That's my bad. I shouldn't have said that. What I should do is go back and delete that line from the video. And if I do go back and I can't find that line anywhere in the video, then that must mean I never said that shit, and this guy's just putting words in my mouth. I'm sure there's a term for that. There's a term for that, right?
And I was just struck by how embarrassingly American this perspective is. And this is why I call this American ideological colonization, because that's what this is. And it's...
Yeah, okay, we need to learn about colonization from Sargon of Akkad. Colonization, you see... It's basically when there's not enough white people in a film. It's as if all the white people have been replaced. The very essence of who we are has been colonized by the woke.
Gross. So Eric obviously knows nothing about like wokeness or, social justice, intersectionalism.
Just whatever I pick up from browsing Reddit all day.
He's never read an essay by Kimberly Crenshaw. He's never...
Like, I don't... What is the implication here? That only Americans can identify racism? Only America has experienced racism? Like, are you trying to go toe for toe here? What is Britain not ever been racist? There's been a few, oddities, foibles, if you will, things that were not particularly fantastic by all measures, but there was also a lot of things that are bloody brilliant. It's one of the wonderful things about this country. I don't understand.
I've never read anything by Derek Bell or any of the other people.
Yeah, he's got me dead to rights there.
Who explicitly state what their intentions are and why they're doing it. So he doesn't know any of the things that...
Okay. I'm just going to make a prediction, and I have not watched this. I'm thinking he's digging himself into a really big hole here. Because, again, if Eric was to go through this, parse it out, and then start looking at, I don't know, the history of racism in Britain, the Empire of England. Like, holy shit. Like, I don't know. Pick your era. You got a lot to choose from. There's a lot of different periods in which you could just be like, holy fuck, Britain, what have you done? Like colonization. Yeah, that thing actually happened.
Underpin what the left-wing social justice movement is about. And so when they wear the mask saying, well, look, we're just here for black people and anyone who disagree with us, well, they just hate black people. Well, why would I expect Eric to know any different? And of course, I don't.
Now, I know what you're thinking. How's Eric going to cut all this footage up to make Sargon of Akkad look bad? Well, the answer is, I'm not. I mean, this is Sargon of Akkad we're talking about. People take him out of context all the time just to make him look like the worst person in the world. I don't want to do that. I'd rather just play his entire video because I'm too stupid an American to know what parts are important.
However, I do think that there are some legitimate concerns that can be raised. That, I mean, I'm not expecting a sincere response from Eric. You know, don't at me, Eric, because I don't expect you to say anything of any value.
Oh, well, now that's just mean, Sargon of Akkad.
But I think it's instructive for people who may watch his video and may perhaps also watch this one.
Yeah, I don't think you want to
Where would you add him? Would you have to go on fucking, it would be Gab or one of those other terrible apps, wouldn't it?
From my students, buddy.
Because there is actually a great depth of ideology behind the terms diversity and inclusiveness, and they're being done for a reason. And I think this is the thing that is worth focusing on most. It is the will behind what is going on. There is a will at play, Eric, and the problem with this will is that it's quite nefarious, and the people
check out Sargon's comment section after this video. Okay, I'm already starting to see some stuff on the side. I don't know if that was true, by the way, where it said 666 viewers. That can't be right. Sargon of Akkad is monstrous. There's no way he gets that small of like a live viewership. He's got to be getting it in the thousands.
Best thing is, are actually open and explicit about what their intentions are.
I like that he keeps mentioning my name.
You've got a whole Wikipedia for it. Yeah. But no, again, we're not racist. Not actually racist. Not like Americans.
That's how I know he's about to say something important.
And I don't like their intentions. And so when they get their hands...
Okay, I'm going to speed this up because Sargon of Akkad is apparently going to make up the vast majority of this entire video. So I am going to let Sargon of Akkad get a little quicker.
On a new property. I mean, they don't actually have the rights to Lord of the Rings. This is... It's a very... I can't remember exactly what it was about Lord of the Rings. They had the rights to, but a very small slice of the canon. And they've done their best to ruin that as well. It didn't take long for them to... I think actually everyone else got that here. Yeah, there we go. The controversial change is they're basically compressing 1,000 years of canon history of Lord of the Rings into one series, and it's like, right.
Yeah, no, that sounds like it's going to suck, man. I feel bad for the fans on this one. I'm not one of them.
The problem is that when you see someone who you know has a nefarious...
By the way, I'm just going to throw this out there. If you haven't watched as much Sargon of Akkad as like myself or other people who watch me or the show on a regular basis, to know his movie reviews can be legendary in how bad they are. He thought Starship Troopers was an allegory to Jordan Peterson, and I mean not just Jordan Peterson one's like lecture or seminar, his entire body of work. Yeah, I'm not joking. That was his conclusion. I was just like, wow, amazing. How did you get there?
Acting upon something which you cherish, you tend not to be very happy with that. And whichever way this nefarious intent manifests itself will be the thing that you point to and say, that is something I don't agree with, because it wasn't the intent of the authorial voice of the person who wrote it is being disrespected. And you might say, well, why do you care? What difference does that make? And the thing is, the author's intent actually matters. I don't agree with the death of the author. Or at least not entirely anyway. There's a lot to talk about that, which I'm not going to go into now. Refuse to explain myself. Carry on.
I will. So Sargon of Akkad made some perfectly reasonable points here. And I myself have gotten upset about shitty adaptations in movies and TV shows. Most recently, that Dark Tower movie, that was a piece of shit. And it had nothing to do with the black guy playing the canonically white main character. In fact, that actor was the best part of the whole movie. But if I had said that this movie looks like shit on one of those YouTube trailers back in the day, would I have been called racist? Sargon, you are making me think, brother.
There's a lot to talk about because the purpose of a work, I mean, just very briefly, actually, if you take away an author, then you can't really have a story, right? You don't have an aesthetic experience where you are engaging with a piece of material, a piece of art, a piece of someone's work, in the same way as you do have an aesthetic experience with something that is not created with intent.
Okay, I think what he's trying to say here is whatever makes the source material so classic, if you just slap its name on something made by a bunch of random people, it's never going to capture that same classic feeling that went into the source material. Wow. You're such a free thinker, Sargon of Akkad.
So even if you don't know the author's intent, you know that there was an author to it. And the easiest way to distinguish this is looking at natural beauty. Unless, of course, you're a person who believes in God. I happen to be still a dirty atheist, but you know that there wasn't a design behind showing you a beautiful scene. So when you get to a particularly high place, you take in a vast sweeping landscape and you're subsumed in natural beauty. But you don't think that someone directed you to appreciate this natural beauty. This is just you appreciating nature, and you can discover things about yourself by doing it. What is it that you notice? What draws your attention, and why does that matter to you? And you can learn things about yourself. But the thing is, you can't do that when you're reading a work of fiction.
Yep, you lost me with that metaphor.
Because you know that no matter, even if you don't know who the author was, you know that there was an author and the author put themselves into the work. And in fact, what you can see from the work allows you to derive intent and attitude and concerns and what's important.
You've never derived any pleasure or anything of merit from fiction? Because you just can't escape the fact that there's a person who wrote that fiction? Is that what you're honestly trying to sell right now? What?
From the author. And this is an important thing. This tells you about what kind of story you're dealing with, what you're supposed to be
It's
looking
not
for,
a real
what
thing.
You can learn, what the author is trying to teach you. Again, even if you don't know who that author is, you can still derive all of this. And
yeah,
this,
what if it's a pen name? What if you have no idea who it is? What if it's one of those ancient pieces of work that doesn't have a known author?
Leads us to the sort of genuine love and appreciation for a work that you can't really get if the work is being made with the explicit intention to break the spell that a piece of art creates. And that's the problem.
The spell that never works on you in the first place because you can't escape the author. What do you think death of the author means? I just think, you literally want to kill the author. And then the magic is finally, the curse has been lifted.
Lord of the Rings, Eric.
All right, yeah, thanks for clearing that up.
So I've got a couple of this. Let me just grab a few things. So the thing is, this intersectional social justice movement, Eric, and I'm not accusing you of being a part of it at all. I'm sure you're not. And even if you are, who cares?
Oh, you said my name again. This next part's probably important.
The thing is, for anyone who's done any amount of reading of their material, they will come away with the understanding that they believe every piece of material, every artwork, every rule, every law, every principle is racially coded. They believe that things are intrinsically racial. Now, again, this is a very American perspective. It's a very American perspective. I can't think of anywhere else in the world where they really think, maybe in like South Africa, I suppose, other countries that have got a history of colonization, maybe they think like that. But in most of the old world, this is not what people think like. People think in terms of nationality and ethnicity, and they think in terms of religion, they think in terms of ideas and movements. They don't think in terms of just skin color.
How do people listen to this and not absolutely laugh their asses off? Why is this chat not loaded with like keck? Like what?
Skin color is actually not very important in the old world.
It wasn't.
Why would you care? You know, what difference does it make? There are much more important things over here. But I suppose we don't have 400 years of racial slavery and the guilt that then comes along with that.
Yeah.
So, okay, I can see from an American position this is important to you.
Good thing they weren't involved in
But this actually isn't yours, because what we're talking about with Tolkien is English mythology. It's old world mythology. It's mythology that speaks to something that is not American and doesn't carry the American cultural baggage.
Does he not know? Is that where we're at? Is it just that he doesn't know? Does he have just like a very, very limited, finite version of history? Does it just start at a certain point and that's like history? I mean, he's an atheist. I can't see why he would want to have like a set amount of days in which all of history begins.
Damn, okay, well now I'm really starting to see from his point of view now why this Amazon original series Lord of the Rings of Power might not be that good.
And doesn't carry the American cultural pathologies, and therefore you colonizing, if you will, this English mythology with your Americanisms is just kind of gross. It's just kind of weird. It makes you guys, Americans, and I'm sorry for the Americans who oppose this stuff, but these guys are a reflection of your culture, and you know this. It makes you look ignorant, at the very least. I mean, again, look at what I'm criticizing. Yeah, it's the woke Lord of the Rings that makes you look ignorant. I mean, look at this.
Look at you stinky bitch. Nice skunk patch on your beard. Why don't you shake that fucking thing off and stop dyeing your hair? Because we know that shit doesn't stop at the beard. Oh, I am so sorry. I apologize. That was the American in me. We're obsessed with appearances. I apologize.
Like I said, I'm not expecting any kind of sensible response from Eric. At the very best, I would have expected him to go, haha, here's a sarcastic reply that doesn't address the meat of anything I'm saying.
I'm trying to be sensible, but you keep taking cheap shots at me, Sargon of Akkad.
But the point is, if we were to take the social justice movement on its face, right, it wouldn't do to the cultural artifacts of other cultures, non-American cultures, what it does to them, right? If Hollywood wanted to, and again, raise the stature and status of black people, it wouldn't do this. I mean, this is embarrassing, right? I mean, if I got a knock on my door and they're like, Carl, quick, we need someone to play MLK, and we've decided it's you.
That's not how casting works, though.
I'd be like,
MLK was a real human being who lived in the real world. He's not a character in a fictional fantasy, in a genre that's literally called fantasy. You see how that works? Like when you're like, James Bond can't be black because MLK Jr. wouldn't be white. James Bond's not real. He's not, so he could be anything. He doesn't even need to be human. He can literally be an elephant. It can be a James Bond elephant. That is totally a normal thing that could happen in a fictional fantasy world that doesn't even exist. It's not real. That would be the big difference between these two, like the two things you're trying to compare and contrast.
I think you might have the wrong person. I think there are actually legitimate reasons why you wouldn't choose me. Starting first, I'm not an actor. B, I think the guy who plays MLK should probably try and look a little bit like MLK.
Damn, dude, you could have picked so many other metaphors.
And I don't really think I have the forgivability of Robert Downey Jr., okay? We're not going to blackface me up. I'm not Justin Trudeau. Zero pictures of me in blackface. I don't want there to be one, really. Again, not that anyone outside of America cares about that.
That anyone knows about.
Dude, you just mentioned Justin Trudeau. What the fuck are you talking about?
Again, another American pathology. But I'm aware that Americans are kind of weird, so I don't intend on falling into that.
I wonder if Eric doesn't know that. Yeah, so I guess that's one, or unless he's being, it's hard to tell with Eric. He's very good at tricking me, of weaving in his, like, this part is an actual joke. This is a bit.
A trap. It's about cultural sensitivity, Eric.
That's me.
But you wouldn't do this to a black person if you wanted them to feel legitimate, right? Because this is done purely under the assumption that black people are somehow inferior to other people. It's disgusting, really. It's absolutely fucking disgusting.
Where did that reach come from?
It's weird that Americans have got absolutely no knowledge of civilizations from Africa.
Wait. Putting more diverse cast in movies that are based on non-historical events that are fantasy is what? The leaps?
Africa. Like, it's just so weird. Like, there are legitimately, like, I mean, I would love to see a genuinely decent dramatization of Shaka Zulu. Now, there have been them, but, these were in the, like, 50s and 60s.
Okay.
So I would like to see a modern remake. Because, I mean, if I recall correctly, I think he was murdered by his own brother. Like, is that not dramatic? Like, this is like the sub-Saharan African Julius Caesar revolutionizes warfare, turns the Zulu from being a backwards, nothing tribe into the head.
What are you saying right now? Do you not know that Lord of the Rings isn't real? Does Sargon does he think it's history? Does he think it's part of British history? I'm not even talking about metaphors. Does he literally think the events that happened, like, does he think there's a Mount Doom? Does he think the One Ring got tossed inside it? Is that what keeps the fabric of society together?
Hegemons of the area in which they are. And then I think he's murdered by his own brother. And it's like, right, there's a story there. Like, there's a genuine story with human drama in it. But fuck you, black people. Hollywood's going to dress you up in whiteface.
What?
Because remember, the racial ideologues don't agree that the stories that white people have told are stories black people could tell. Right? They think that. I don't think this, but they think this. And this obsession with race, you end up tying yourselves in knots over it. But it means that what you're saying is a black person is only legitimate when they're doing this. Like, you're not making movies about Africans, you're making movies about Europeans and putting Africans in their place and saying, right, you've made it. That's the assumption that the European is innately superior, and they're not. It's just you're fucking racists, and you're too ignorant and shallow to understand this.
He's sober right now. This does not look like the man in the depths of an ether binge. These words that are coming out of his mouth, these ideas, he seems perfectly sober while he's saying them. But they're so batshit. What are you, like, what do you, I genuinely, do you think Lord of the Rings is real? What is going on here? You're calling that colonization? It's the colonization of our ideas and our stories.
Okay, I think what he's trying to say is that we should be telling more minority-focused stories instead of having boardroom meetings about the minimum amount of minorities that we can legally have in our existing stories. Very generous. Did I do that right, Sargon of Akkad? Because, by the way, I'm always available. You can hire me for punch-ups. I work freelance. Here's a freebie. You tend to drift. You just drift a little bit too much. And also, you've personally insulted me like 4 or 5 times now, and I believe that's called an ab homily.
It's really gross. It's absolutely despicable. And the thing is, right, it's not that, like, they think this
is the real racism.
Completely. But the assumption is that Europeans, like all of the other races, as far as they're concerned, are just like, this is, well, it's this everything and then white. It's like, what are you talking about?
You're drifting.
Like, what? I guess maybe it's because I'm conversant with history. I just look back at history and think, I mean, you know, almost every empire, almost every great people in history didn't come from Europe. Like, they're not Europeans. So you guys, again, it seems just a very new world way of looking at this. Because for the last 300 years, that's been the case. But that...
What are you talking about? What does this have to do with Lord of the Rings? This is all just the largest fucking gibberish fucking vomit. What are you doing?
It's a really, really small segment of time. You know, I mean, my culture, the culture you guys are currently bastardizing, is 1,500 years of recorded history. So it's like,
Lord of the Rings isn't British history. What are you talking about? Elves aren't real. What? Do you not know this? Now, at first this was a bit. Now I'm starting to get worried.
Okay. You guys are like, oh yeah, for the last 300 years. Okay, but like, look at all of the time before that. Like, it's really ignorant.
Do you think you're an elf or like a dwarf? What is going on here? Are the left and the communists all the orcs in your mind? Is that how this works?
It's really shallow. It's really pathetic. And it's really demeaning to black people. Like, I feel bad that these people...
I'll be honest, I don't know. I think this would probably be confusing. I can't say I'm not a black person, but I imagine your line of rhetoric would be confusing, to say the very least.
Always, this woman here is always going to have...
I'm sorry to the black community. You are not able to be cast in the new Lord of the Rings as any character because it would not be historically accurate to British history. And again, we want to honor British history, so we won't have a casting call for anyone who isn't completely and utterly white. Which even in and of itself doesn't make sense. There's black people in Britain. And there was also slavery. What the fuck? Oh my God.
The stigma of diversity higher around her.
No, I think that woman's going to get paid an insane amount of money, and based on her performance, quite possibly a lot more acting gigs.
Right, people are always going to intuit this outside of America. I'm sure in America everyone's like, oh, wow, it's so stunning and brave. But it's not. And it's part of an ideological attack against what the intersectionals, the diversity and inclusion folks, consider to be a kind of white hegemony. Because this is racial, like we said, and it can't be made into something else. It can't be appreciated by non-white people in their view, even though Lord of the Rings especially absolutely is appreciated all around the world. And that's what...
By the way, this comment section has just been all over the place. Holy shit. I mean, to their credit, I mean, maybe you wouldn't get a lot of that stuff filtered through YouTube's like automatic. Yeah, YouTube probably filters a lot of the worst things, but holy shit.
What they themselves say.
Jesus Christ, how long is this video? Oh my God.
So anyway, what I was going to get at is the point about aesthetics, right? So aesthetics, the aesthetic experience of a piece of work comes from our interaction with it, right? It's how we feel about the work. The work itself is non-aesthetic, right? It doesn't have a magical property that is aesthetic, but the non-aesthetic properties in some way that seems to be philosophically indeterminate at this point, combine in our minds to produce a particular kind of experience. And these are not necessary experiences. These seem to be contingent on many different things. And there's no formula that you can say, well, this is the thing. But there are certain predictabilities. For example, a really good example of this is Harry Potter, right? J.K. Rowling, when I remember years ago, and I didn't understand at the time why this was significant, but apparently when they were casting for Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling was just like, no Americans. I found that really funny. But why?
Right. The first two Harry Potter movies were directed.
Here we go.
By an American from Pennsylvania.
What she is trying to do is preserve the aesthetic of a British public school, which is actually a private school for Americans. Don't know why we call them public schools, to be honest. But the point is she's trying to portray a posh school, a posh English school. And so she has credentialed English actors or British actors. And these people give a certain sense to the thing because they come from a particular place. They exist in a particular time. And if you take them and replace them with someone else like Americans who also come from a particular place and exist in a particular time and have a different culture, a noticeably different.
If this was Sargon's theory, then isn't the fact that everyone in the trailer for Lord of the Rings is speaking British or sounds some variation of dialect, isn't that enough? Isn't that what you're looking for? They're all putting on the accent. If that's the issue, and always has been the issue, and not that you think Lord of the Rings was literal history, so if that's just the issue, then that should be enough, right? Then why are even we, like, what's the problem?
Culture, you get a different aesthetic experience, and that's something she was concerned about because she wanted.
Yeah, has he even seen the Lord of the Rings movies? Does he know that there's non-white characters? There's not a lot. It's not a diverse cast, but like Harry Potter's first girlfriend is Asian, and like she still speaks in a British accent. Like, if that's enough, if that's all they care about, then shouldn't that be the end of this debate or discussion?
To craft a particular illusion.
Or it was the American director who directed the movie who set the aesthetic.
It would seem strange if you had a school that was based on English schools to be filled with Americans, all speaking in their American lingo, their American accents.
Does he not know Elijah Wood is American? I would assume not. I would assume not. Oh, what, the little one? No, he's not American. Did you hear him? And did you see him? He was white as the driven snow and had a proper British accent. We understood it to be a part of England because of that.
In American words, it'd be weird.
Yeah, no, totally. Except all but one of the Harry Potter movies were written by Steve Kloves, an American born in Austin, Texas. And the one that he didn't write was written by a Jewish guy from New York.
And it wouldn't carry the same effect to the audience, and the audience therefore wouldn't engage with it in the same
Also,
way.
a Mexican directed the third one.
In the way that Harry Potter fandom cherishes Harry Potter. And that's the problem that we are seeing with this Lord of the Rings. This breaks the willing suspension of disbelief in the material. You can't look at this and not know that there is a will operating on this property.
How is he even possibly trying to say that this isn't about race? And he's like, okay, all right, look, if you want proof, look no further than Harry Potter. Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling specifically said she was only going to cast British people, okay? So they're all British, if you get what I'm saying, if you know what I mean by British. Keep Britain for the British, everybody.
That is alien to the property, has colonized the property, and is trying to do something to you. You
don't know what these words mean, do you, Sargon?
Using the property. And that's the problem, isn't it?
Okay, I see what he's saying. The reasoning behind Amazon's decision to make a beardless black dwarf means that Lord of the Rings fans just can't expect any kind of faithful adaptation just in general, so it'll probably be disappointing. It's not about the Black Dwarf, guys. It's about what the Black Dwarf with no beard represents. It's got nothing to do with race. I get you now, Sargon of Akkad.
Because from the group of people who say that everything is political, well, if you're going to deliberately flout the law of the work that you're going to be adapting, then I can only assume you think, or not you, Eric, of course, the people there, they think that this is a political maneuver. And I don't really like being acted upon in ways that otherwise would be hidden from me. Like people who try and conceal their intentions and then present it and say, well, don't you love this? It looks very much like a skin suit to me. It's very gross. Like you've torn off Tolkien's work, plastered it over your own faces, and then say, right, now kiss. It's like, sorry, I'm not gonna have any kind of passionate interaction with something I know is doing something deceitful. And
I gotta say, like, you know, the pandemic's been hard on all of us, and we've spent a lot of time indoors and online, and spent more time ever, I guess, online, and then scared and frightened. And then there's the wars and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's been a rough time, and I guess it's affected different people differently. And for Sargon of Akkad, he has just gone off the deep end now. Like with this shit. He thinks it's a skin suit. It's a literal skin suit. That's what they're doing. They're taking off the skin of one human being and putting it on someone else. Yeah.
Has an agenda that I didn't sign up for.
You're losing me again, pal. You better say my name or something.
That's fundamentally what this is about. It's about integrity and honesty. It's about sincerity. It's about being genuine about the thing that you're doing, and the respect I expect to have accorded to me as someone who you wish to have an aesthetic experience with your work, that's already gone. Broken at the very first hurdle. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do that. Why would I do that? And you're like, oh, you just hate black people. Oh, brilliant take, Eric. Brilliant.
What the fuck did I do? You're going to put that on me? All that? That's right.
All of these layers on it. Now, you're right. Black people because I'm an American and I literally can't think.
I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot to load on Big Money Salvia. You know, at the end of the day, it's like, well, you're responsible for the skin suits that you've been putting on all of us by changing the adaptation, by making something not British and trying to tell us that we're racist while you inverse colonize our properties, which are, again, British, by putting British people in them, not in accent alone, though. They have to be proper British. And of course, when I say all that, I mean it has nothing to do with race.
Outside of that frame. I mean, one of the people that Eric criticizes is my friend Arch. What experience of black people do you think Norwegians have? Like, he lives at, like, God knows what latitude in a tiny...
So it's totally acceptable for them to get really upset if they see black people in movies. Because there's no black people there. Don't you get it? They've colonized me again. Now they're colonizing Norwegians.
Norwegian village? How many black people do you think are there, Eric? Do you think he's just racist? Because it's just all these blacks doing things that he hates.
Kinda.
Idiot.
Sargon of Akkad, when did I call that man a racist?
Yeah, I'm going to do it for you, though, because he kind of seems like one. I'll be honest, if you get big mad all the time on the internet because there's representation in film, if that's one of your shticks, and video games too, let's not forget video games, if you are consistently mad about that, yeah, maybe it has something to do with race at the end of the day. Because I don't see anything else that is really changing that's pissing you off. Like for people who are like, oh, I'm not a sexist. It has nothing to do with that. I just really, really don't want Ghostbusters to be anything other than like 4 dudes. I mean, you could say the new Ghostbuster movie wasn't great. That's one thing to say. But to say I don't like this because my fictional property is not the way I want it to be at all times, which is, of course, one way and one way only for my fictional land or work or anything. Like, yeah, if you're hyper-focusing on that, if that's basically the ethos of your entire channel, if that's what makes you mad on a regular basis, not, you know, actual racism, well, then, yeah, maybe. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I don't recall saying anything of the type. All I did was play...
Also, I know a lot of people from Norway. People from Norway pop up in my chat all the time. They don't care about this. They don't give 2 fucks. Most people don't. Most people are like, is it going to be good or bad? I'm not going to base it based on a trailer, based on the fact that the trailer isn't white and cis enough for my liking. Oh, okay. Well, the movie sucked. Yeah, the movie sucked because the movie sucked. Because movies can suck. It's amazing. They can suck if they have a very diverse cast, and they can suck if they have no diversity at all. And most times, when they do suck, it has nothing to do with the fact that the cast happens to be diverse.
This video And then I left a comment about getting canceled for making babies fight each other. So if you can point out where in the video I call that man a racist, well, then you got me. You got me real good. But until then, you're just putting words in my mouth, and I know that's called something, and as soon as I remember what that term is, I'm gonna blast you with it.
Idiot. This is about the aesthetic fidelity of the piece. This is not about race. These people are merely using race as a way of puppeteering you, as a way of making you be their defender for free, I assume. I mean, you did, at the end of your video, spend a lot of time, like, plugging, like, you know, Amazon's Lord of the Rings. Where is it? Like, even, like, gets up the little fucking thing.
Oh, no.
At some point at the end. But, like, it's just...
Like,
it's just
if he disclosed it, you'd have something to go on here. But, like, was he sponsored by McDonald's? Various wine companies? Like, he has ads in his thing where he tells you, hey, here's the ad. There's skits. So it's a whole thing.
Weird. Where is it? Anyway, there we go. Like, it's like, yeah, go and watch it on
the aesthetic fidelity. Man, is that euphemism doing some work? True.
Oh, got him.
Go and watch it on such and such.
Yeah, and put on social media. Hell yeah. And Amazon just paid me. Hey, welcome to America, Sargon of Akkad.
Nice.
We play a little bit differently over here.
Are you being paid to say that? Or are you just doing this for them? You have become a conscripted foot soldier for Amazon. Like, you're the... I mean, I hope you're being paid, because if not, you're doing this for free. You're promoting Amazon. And, like, wasn't this worth, like, $1 billion, this series? Like, but they don't even need to pay you to do this. You're just being conscripted in for free to do this. Because you just hate black people. It's such a useful idiot, mate.
Says the European who just gave Amazon their new promo.
I can't think of many flaws in Lord of the Rings. Okay, I really can't. It's a brilliantly adapted work, and that is because Peter Jackson was like, look, we're going to stay as faithful to the source material as we can. You know, literally, and you can tell that they lifted parts of the dialogue directly into the movie, large parts of the dialogue, and that's to their credit. Because
like,
they
don't
want
get me
to
wrong.
create
Hey, I don't want to shit on Peter Jackson's original trilogy. It's not bad as far as like adaptations go, but there are things that are dramatically either changed and or left out and or just cut out completely for the purposes of the fact that it's 3 movies and it's a lot more literature than there are film. It's the nature of the beast, you would say, the medium.
Atmosphere that people had and felt.
Yeah, Tom Bombadil is probably the best. The biggest one.
The show is finally fixing Lord of the Rings diversity problem. Think about what that
Everyone
means.
wants the little forest drunkard. Right? He's certainly a fan favorite.
By what it includes and what it excludes, right? If you have a series, if you're trying to create a mythical fantasy realm, or any kind of art, to be honest, all art is about casting spells on the person watching, on the person imbibing it, the person who has the aesthetic experience that you've given them. You've just given them a canvas. It's just canvas with pigments on. It doesn't move. And yet some paintings can feel alive, draw you into a story that you can't escape, and you go away thinking about, God, that's resonated with me, because the experience is happening in your head. But that is the artist's craft, to be able to cast this spell that you can't stop thinking about. And nope, not anymore.
Why does he keep referring to it as a spell? By the way, his entire thesis here as an excuse to like, I'm not racist because, and here we go, is utterly absurd. The idea that like, okay, so he believes in death of the author or whatever he believes it to be, and then part of that means that, hey, by the way, with this literature or with this book, you'll never be able to enjoy it in the same way you can enjoy intrinsically beautiful things like a sunset or scenery or the love of your life or something like that, because you will always associate yourself with the author themselves and always think of them. That's only if they change the work, though. See, if they don't change the work, then you will be able to instinctively always enjoy that for what it is, because it casts the spell. Without that, the spell is broken. If the spell is broken, then at which point you can no longer enjoy it. I think that's what death of the author means.
All right, so he loves Lord of the Rings. That much is clear. Can't make fun of him for being a fan.
Now it's about political representation. And if you don't think it's political, well, again, it's because you haven't read a single thing that the people who promote diversity and inclusion have written. You just don't know anything about these people. It's like, okay, that's fine. I wouldn't expect it. It's pretty esoteric. I mean, it is everywhere. It is trillion-dollar corporations shelling out this stuff. Amazon's only putting all of their money behind this. I mean, not all of their money, obviously, but you know, there's huge budgets that some countries don't even reach. But don't worry, I'm sure there's nothing nefarious going on here.
And he doesn't trust the people adapting the material he loves. Cool, man. Yeah, we got that point about 20 minutes ago. So unless you see some more room in my mouth that you could stuff some words into, let's wrap this up.
But we've got a quote we've got a particular quote. There's a complaint that female characters are few and far between. It's interesting. Where is the quote? Here we go. I think it's this one. So yeah, they knew they'd face a backlash from Tolkien fans over the diverse casting. How did they know? How could they know?
Probably because the dwarf women don't have beards.
Except Tolkien spends a lot.
Probably because that's what always happens. Because there's an entire industrial complex on the internet about people who complain about these things all day. You're a part of it. You happen to be a very large player in this. It's what pays you. This is your job. This is what you've chosen in your lot in life. This is what you do, Sargon.
Lots of time fleshing out the cultures and the people who make up those cultures.
Yeah, the Lola Bunny industrial complex. That's a good way of putting it.
What's the term for it? It was on the back of my mind before I started the stream, but I've forgotten the term. Sort of the anthropology of the thing, right? As in, when I go to a place, I see the people and they have distinct characteristics, and from these characteristics you draw the aesthetics of them. But they knew this was going to be the case. They knew. Like, where's the showrunner? Lindsay Weber, the executive producer. It only felt natural to us that an adaptation of Tolkien's work would reflect what the world actually looks like. Which world? Our world? Why? Why the fuck would we want Lord of the Rings to reflect what the real world looks like?
Maximum demographic reach with the
Why the fuck? Oh, oops.
universally known IP. Oh, right, Sargon, that was a joke.
Like, and what sense does that make? Like, if I want to know what the real world looks like, I'll literally walk outside. This is why I can't understand, like, fat representation and things. So, we don't see any fat people on TV. Oh, don't worry, I see them all day, every day. I am one, right? It's fine. We know what fat people are like. They're represented everywhere in real life. I'd like to actually get away into a bit of escapism. Fantasy.
Oh.
Again, the illusion that is cast from a piece of art. The things you put in it matter. But for some reason, Lindsay, the executive producer of a major Hollywood production, doesn't understand any of these things. Like, how can you get to that point without understanding that, right? But she does have an ideology, and her ideology is
Sargon versus Sargon.
And this means
a cod versus a cod.
Summarizes social justice, and this means that this ideology, this new religion, has to be implanted in everything that we do. As she said, Tolkien is for everyone. His stories are about fictional races doing their best work when they leave the isolation of their cultures and come together. What? What are we talking about? Why are you bringing that up?
So
why are you bringing up?
So basically, he wants the illusion of living in a world in which there are no gay people and no black people and no indigenous people and basically only white people. And that's escapism to him. And that's his happy place. That's the place he feels the most content. That's where he has that whole little, like, the rainbows and the dancing and all that kind of stuff appear over his head. He's like, oh, this is lovely. Look at all these beautiful people. Pure, Aryan.
For everyone, this inclusivity. No, it's not. Tolkien isn't for people who don't like Tolkien.
Oh, is that the authorial
Lord of the
intent?
Rings is not for people
I understand.
who don't like Lord of the Rings. If you don't, I mean, there are millions of Lord of the Rings fans.
Yeah, he doesn't want white people. He wants white Brits only.
And it's not
also
that.
true. Okay,
Again,
yes, we got to give him credit there. Okay, it's not just white people in his fantasy world. He wants white British people. He is specific about that. I think he might make exceptions for a beautiful American or two, or maybe even like a New Zealander. But as long as they are, of course, of the pure blood, then he will allow them.
Inclusivity is an innate part of all art. You will never create a work of art that satisfies anyone.
Yeah, I'm sure that kills in the pitch meeting.
Some of the most niche art is also some of the most complex. Look at things like Lovecraft is a great example of this. Very, very niche, very, very
incredibly
particular
niche.
in its aesthetic. There are lots of things that it
Not
excludes and a very narrow band of things that it
entire
includes.
genre.
And that's
forever.
why the people who find that attractive, the people who derive the aesthetic experience
what up,
that Lovecraft is going for,
but the British have no cultural heritage other than what they've stolen.
With Tolkien,
also true.
It was millions of people because Tolkien was a brilliant writer because he knew what he was trying to achieve. He was trying to achieve a mythos, an epic. And the good thing about an epic is that nothing needs to be done in order to include people. If virtues and vices and conflict resonate, then they will resonate across cultures. And
absolutely,
there are plenty of cultures who don't appreciate this.
I was already way ahead of you on that.
And there are plenty of individuals within each culture who do and don't appreciate it. It doesn't matter. What matters is fidelity to the work, because without the fidelity to the work, you end up losing the people who do appreciate it without winning over those people who don't appreciate it. And the only people who are satisfied with this are people who are fundamentally racist.
Oh, what?
People who literally can't look at a piece of art and say, if there's not a person in that with my skin color, then I don't like it.
Well, that seems very specific, Sargon of Akkad.
And this is entirely the premise of the social justice movement. They don't believe that, say, black people can appreciate pieces of art with white people in. They don't believe that white people can appreciate pieces of art with black people in. And they all think in this American framework where it's literally about race. Whereas
I'm pretty sure in terms of sales, movie sales, that theory had been going on for some time to great measures of success. I'm pretty sure very large films seen by a large percentage of the population are seen by a very diverse amount of people, and they all still went, even though all the movies only featured white people. Pretty sure that was just the way.
in most people's framework, it's about fidelity, authenticity. And the thing is, I know that Hollywood knows this, right? This is just the Wikipedia page for Shang-Chi and the Legend of Ten Rings.
Oh no, where's this going?
Which seems to have been well received by its audiences. Like, what was it was like 7.2 or something on Rotten Tomatoes from the audience score, whatever it is. It did quite well, right? But it's weird. The studio was adamant that the actors be of Chinese descent to audition for the character. Why? Didn't they want inclusivity and diversity? It's really weird, isn't it? And it's because, and they know this, that they wanted this to do well in China, because it was supposed to be a Chinese-themed Marvel character. If you want a Chinese-themed Marvel character, well, you need to have something that is authentically Chinese. And if you don't have that, you don't end up casting the spell. That is the artistic experience that people look at the thing without any explanation from you and draw from that what they interpret the thing to be. And you don't need to do anything special. All you have to do is try and stay on point with the source material. It's not very difficult.
Like, don't get me wrong. In terms of staying consistent, yes, if it is a made-up property, anyone can play any roles. Guess what? The vast majority of roles are not played in mainstream Hollywood American films by Asian protagonists. And so, yes, it was a big thing that a cast featured largely, predominantly Chinese people. That's not to say that it can't, but this is like one movie of all the Marvel films. There's one. Okay. Like, got him.
I mean, it's just so obvious that it's just, most people would have no question about it. But why wouldn't you do that? You wouldn't do that if you had an agenda.
All right, I think he's using the Shang-Chi thing to like make a point about how we would never cast a black person for that character. But it's like he's skipping words or something. He's like, he can't get the whole thing out.
If you have an agenda,
he's too excited,
making it like, look what the world actually looks like, rather than what Tolkien's world actually is supposed to look like. It's for everyone. Well, what are they saying with this then? This isn't for everyone? What are they saying with this? Is this not for white people? Is this not for black people? Is this not for Indian people or South American people? This is just for Chinese people? No, of course not. You know, and no normal person is looking at this going, well, it's just got Chinese people in it. I can't watch this.
The character in the fictional story is Chinese. The characters in Lord of the Rings are made up races that don't exist in the real world, like elves and hobbits. There are humans too, in amongst everything else. There's also completely made up ones that don't exist, and orcs and other creatures and fucking walking trees and it's fantasy. It can be anything. Yeah, Ents. God damn it.
No black person probably was like, oh, I can't watch Lord of the Rings. There's only black people in it. I can't believe for a second that a single person was like that. But this is the political ideology.
Yo, man, you gotta wrap this video up.
And so, you know, you, Eric, just being like, oh, you just hate black people. No.
This guy's American impression sucks.
When you're creating a piece of art, you're creating something that in its own little pocket dimension in your head becomes real. It has coherence. It has internal consistency. And when this is broken, then the spell is broken.
His gay impression is fantastic.
So when you insert in front of me, oh, I don't know, if I was watching, this is why the bloopers are so funny, when it's like, they're filming The Mandalorian and someone's left a Pepsi on the background or something. It's like, look, that instantly the spell's broken. That can't be explained. I mean, I've just made that up.
Wait. Are black people like Pepsi cans? Is that what he's saying? every movie I see, it just ruins the fantasy. I know I'm not in space anymore because I see a Pepsi can, a Taco Bell wrapper, and a black person right over there. The spell is broken, don't you see? I no longer can suspend my disbelief. A black person. They're not real.
It's like, look, when that's brought in.
The show's not out, right? It's just a 1 minute trailer. Oh, right, it comes out September 2nd, just like Sargon of Akkad said.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh man, that one hurts. Sargon. I think that's the dumbest thing you've ever thought or said out loud. I think that's the peak. And I've heard you say so many foolish things over the years. So much asinine batshittery spews from you. But the fact that he's got this overarching theme about how it ruins the magic spell, it's been broken.
A high crime in art. Because this
thank you. It feels good to laugh again.
Within the universe. And if you can't explain it within the universe, then what you're saying to the people is, no, you've got to step back and realize you're just watching moving pictures on a screen. You're not having this magical experience anymore. You're just sat there and you're just giving us the money, and the whole effect is ruined. And why would I bother?
Black people.
If you can't be bothered to be internally consistent to the story you're trying to tell, why would I bother trying to engage with it? And you can be like, you're a racist. Okay, I'm also racist against corporations by that measure.
Right on, brother. I'm racist against corporations too.
So this is the entire point. And so when
what does that mean?
So we've got this black beardless.
We're all racist against corporations. Okay, it's the only acceptable form of racism. You
can do whatever you like with it. It's not my property. You can't expect me to believe that you're approaching this in good faith, like with respect to me as the recipient of your piece of art.
Okay.
And saying, yeah, so you're going to like this, aren't you? No. You hate black people, don't you? No. You are a bad person, therefore you should give us your money.
Bro, this is all that thing with the words in the mouth. It's a term these guys use all the time.
No. None of that is a coherent argument to start with.
You made up that argument. Oh my God, what is the term for that?
This is weird. I can tell this is you injecting your politics in front of my face and then saying, right, enjoy the art. And it's like, I can't. Your politics is in front of my face. You're deliberately profaning your
black person. Ah, God, politics everywhere. Why did I watch this biography on MLK Jr.? All I see is politics.
Own art and demanding that I engage in this profanity with you.
Oh, wow.
Like, I'm sorry, if you can't treat the thing you're making as sacred and you have to have a different agenda, like, which is, I mean, and let's be fair, right? It's not like Hollywood. It's not like it's our first fucking rodeo, is it, Eric? Right?
That's me.
I mean, look at this. Just Stacey Abrams as the president of the Earth in Star Trek.
Yo, spoilers. Come on, I haven't seen this one yet.
Come on. Come on, that's just... Could you be any more on the nose about your political agendas? This is like, God, stop punching me in the face. Please. She's like the governor of Georgia or something. And it's like, oh.
Yeah, I'd be pissed if I voted against her and she still wound up in my Star Trek, that's for sure.
But again, like we can't see that this is the American political ideology of the left that is colonizing yet another thing.
Colonizing.
It's embarrassing. Shouldn't be done. Ruins the experience. Again, takes me right out of whatever they were trying to craft here. I mean, look at this. Just what am I supposed to be looking at?
The word he's looking for is reappropriating.
I mean, I don't remember Star Trek being nearly this dull looking.
Oh yeah, the whole show sucks. It's not like Star Trek at all.
Again, Star Trek is something I used to love, but like this. Can you even imagine loving this? Like, who loves this?
No, that's true, man. They fuck up every time they try to remake one of these properties. Like, why can't they get it right?
Racist, certainly love this. But anyway, I know that you're putting...
Me?
Well, they are putting politics in my face when they do this. They say it. They literally
Pepsi cans.
We are correcting the biggest flaw. We have a political interpretation of Lord of the Rings, and that makes Lord of the Rings flawed. And it's like, yeah, but I don't have a political interpretation of Lord of the Rings, and I don't think it's flawed. I actually think it's rather good in the epic tale that it is telling. Epic in the Aristotelian sense, by the way. And this is important, and it is entirely, my enjoyment of this series is contingent on that. And that's why everyone says, well, this woke shit is garbage and it doesn't work for me. It doesn't bring me in. It's not trying to bring you in. What it's trying to do is wear the thing you love as a fucking skin suit.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Sargon of Akkad. You've really helped me
Skin
see
suits.
through the corporate mechanisms of this Amazon original series.
And then trying to get you to conform to their politics.
Yeah, says the guy who ran for parliament. Get the fuck out of here, Sargon of
The
Akkad.
thing is, their politics is
Also
based
true.
on racial consciousness, based on the idea.
But he
that all
doesn't. He
people in
doesn't
all times, all
go
places,
to his
are, like,
fantasy land to
dug
get
into
politics.
these.
He goes to it
Look
for
up
pristine,
the Fourth Age,
Aryan,
just did a
white
great video on this this
casts.
afternoon, where the people
And
who do this, they believe
escapism
they're in
thanks
kind
to
of
the magic
racial
spell,
channels.
not
I believe
skin
this is Ibram
suits.
X. Kendi's view.
Avoid the skin
racial
suits.
channels, and essentially, neither. It's very segregationist. These can't be mixed, and I just don't believe any of this nonsense.
Okay, I think he's sundowning. This is going to wrap up any second now.
This is all bollocks, and it's all very American. And
He's been
actively
sundowning this whole fucking video.
Probably, I mean, literally, I think it was 2012. This was voted England's favorite book. Like, you've colonized one of the most cherished pieces of cherished cultural artifacts that my country has with your fucking American race bullshit. I can't stand it. I don't care about it. Like, I don't want to see it. I don't want to sit there and be reminded constantly that, by the way, some fucking woke Hollywood dipshit like Lindsay Weber is like going, me, inclusivity, diversity, race, women. Just shut up. Just shut up and talk about Lord of the Rings, not your politics.
Yes.
I'm not having this nefarious shit.
Even though that's just what he did for 45 minutes straight when he made his video. That's like exactly what he did. He didn't talk about Lord of the Rings. I don't even know if he's read Lord of the Rings. I think he's seen the Peter Jackson films. I think that's as far as it goes. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got from this.
Happening. Like, I'm not going to pay for it. I'm not going to engage with it. I'm not going to watch it. I'm not interested in it. And I don't care what your opinion on that is, Eric.
Well, that's a hell of a thing to say 43 minutes into a review.
You can have your tepid, two-dimensional, smooth brain take of it. Literally, Arch just hates black people. Portman just hates black people. They just like white people. No, maybe they just like Lord of the Rings.
Tepid? Wait, smooth brain? The hell did I do to deserve that?
You considered that. Anyway, folks, I'm gonna leave it there, I think, because it's late.
Yeah, I think you've made your point very concisely. Very concisely, Sargon.
Take it easy, folks.
All right, so that was his entire video. All I left out were like awkward pauses and him repeating himself. So look, I'll be honest.
The series is a prequel to Lord of the Rings. Ah, sorry, my misunderstanding.
I think if I had covered woke Lord of the Rings and included some jokes that were about the dwarf women not having beards and other shit they're not including from the lore, well, then maybe Sargon of Akkad wouldn't have woken up in the middle of the night to film himself putting words in my mouth for 43 minutes straight. Anyway, let me write down my thoughts so you can see how they differ from the live-action adaptation that I just filmed. First of all, it's an honor, Sargon of Akkad, to finally have you hone in on my particular brand of woke propaganda. I can't tell you how many people I've made blind to the blatant corporatization and monetization of our planet's many cultures. There are babies born with purple hair every day because their mothers watch my channel while pregnant. I am responsible for at least 500 transgender realizations in 2021 alone, and I hope to break that record this year. If I'm not making a video to call someone or something racist, then I'm not making a video. I drank the Kool-Aid so long ago I can barely feel it influencing my decisions anymore. Because I'm an American leftist comedian, and the things I make fun of are low-hanging fruit. It's not my choice, of course. I've been trained this way by decades of right-leaning comedians being cast out and discounted, so that the only clear path to success was to echo progressive sentiments and shit on whatever the opposing political party is saying. It's a comfortable space to be in because everyone congratulates you for your wokeness. So you start to wonder if maybe the other side isn't all full of assholes like you hoped, like you'd already broadcast yourself saying. How can you take anything back when it lasts forever on the internet? No, you need to find a way to make sure the divide stays put because this is your livelihood. The second you give respect to the other side, you've lost. Everyone will turn on you because all they want is blood. You'll be replaced by someone hungrier and faster, willing to ignore the overlap and keep the teams clearly marked. But I can't help the feeling I had while watching all 43 minutes of this video, that perhaps I had you people figured out wrong. This is like that scene in Avatar when the white guy makes friends with the blue Native Americans because he looks like a blue Native American but can never be with them in white dude form. I feel like I can't be with you all in white dude form. We have too many differences of opinion that at least for now will always end in hatred and ridicule. But listen, Sargon of Akkad, in case you just skipped to this part of the video, we can respect each other all we want quietly to ourselves, but the left won't allow me to say you were right about anything, and the right won't let you say the new Lord of the Rings show might not be all that bad. We gotta wait and see. And that's what they call an Abigail's promise, you fucking tomato. And Sargon of Akkad. All right, well, bad news, guys. Sargon of Akkad left this video about 30 seconds in so he could start recording his own response based on what he thinks I was about to say. But that's okay. None of this was actually for me anyway. It was for the people who watch me. Sargon of Akkad wanted to make them question themselves and the lies that they've been fed from their own side. And that's fair. And speaking of which, to all you Sargon of Akkad fans, welcome to my channel. Maybe stick around for a little bit, because I'm going to get you all. 2 more videos, and next thing you know, you're going to be spraying cops in the face at Antifa rallies while Netflix sucks all the woke search history from your fucking browser. That's just how it's going to work. Oh, and Sargon, next time you make a response to one of these, let's tighten it up. That was way too long. Just tighten it up, man. Tighten it the fuck up. Learn to write this shit beforehand. You love words so much. Well, then tighten it the fuck up. Maybe watch the whole video. You fucking piece of
tomato.
Oh, wow. It's on its way to being ratioed. I might as well help. Oh, shit. Fucking 6,000 likes to 8,000 likes. Oh, it's nice seeing it in real life. It's really good. What Eric said. Ain't no one topping that. Yeah, I mean, good job, Sargon of Akkad. I hope it was worth it.
Do you enjoy the Serfs but prefer not to have to use your eyeballs? Many are saying this. Well, we've got the solution for you. It's the Serf Times in podcast form, available on most major podcasting networks now. If you enjoy it, please consider leaving a good review and feedback because it really helps the show out, apparently, and it's free, just like the podcast.
To our gods, Xander Corvus and Peyton L. Just, we are prepared to conduct many a human sacrifices in your honor. To our monarch, Tom Spiker, we are but your humble yet incompetent jesters, trying in vain to bring some levity into your life. To our lord, Trevor R., we give you thanks for this meager plot of land for us to toil away our pathetic existence. To our brave knights, Carl Wauer, Tony, DM Rivera, Resident Scarecrow, Sir Nickus, Mayred, Cheryl Alvarez, Ruben Kelly, Brandon, Words Greenwood, Nate, Hegbert Celine, Matthew Scarborough, Stellar Vision, Ariane McCarthy, Daniel Sutton, Coulter Smith, Jenna Tal, Quiet 185, Anna Loves Riley, Omni, Riley and Anna, Poodlehawk, The Tim Caucus, Multimondi, Trevor Janis, Lemmy 101, Anthropophojack, Saren 42, Catherine, Ramon Acosta, Nkosin, Agent NDN, Violent Orchard, Political Puppy, Andreas Chiringuito, Zach Christensen, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. We salute our mighty heroes off to conquest some bread in some far-off land.